Hi there, my name is Robin Landsong, and I'd like to talk to you today about unconditional love, empathy, and compassion. And so, as a multiple near-death experiencer, meaning several times I've had a death experience where I've crossed over to the other side and come back. And when I crossed over, I had the experience of getting to go home to the source that made me, and I call that the Great Heart. And as I got closer, there was this incredible sense of being received home. And no part of me was rejected, and all of me was welcomed back. And there's a urge to bring that experience back to other people here on this plane, this dense plane where we do have suffering and we do have physical pain and illness. And really letting people know that all of them will be welcomed home when it is their time to cross over. And so many people want to bring that, they kind of discuss that unconditional love. But the truth is, in our human relationships, we actually do have a lot of conditions. We need to be safe, we need to be respected, we need to be not maltreated. And I really love the story of Pema Chodron, one of my Buddhist teachers. And one of her students asked her, if somebody's in a domestic violence situation, should they do Tonglen practice, which is a Buddhist practice of breathing in and breathing out either your own suffering or the suffering of another? And should they do a Tonglen practice for the person who's mistreating them? And she looked at them and she said, no, get out and get safe. And years later, maybe if you want to do a forgiveness practice or a Tonglen practice, then that might be a better timing. But while you're being maltreated or needing to set stronger boundaries, it's just time to work on that. And that the person to have compassion for is yourself first. So then I want to talk about empathy and then leading into compassion. So empathy is feeling the internal world of somebody else. Our nervous systems are having conversations all the time. And when we approach another person, another nervous system, we're looking for signs of welcome or signs of warning. And empathy is about saying, I see you have an internal world and you have values and desires and dreams and emotions and thoughts, and your internal world matters to me and I can sense it. And so what happens, so empathy is about really kind of noticing each other, and that's a good thing. But what happens with just plain empathy is that if the other person that you're noticing is in distress, that activates our amygdala, which is the fear center in our brains, and that we get a cascade of stress response and stress chemistry. And so people can tend to want to distance from somebody who's in distress because they haven't been trained and really taught how to shift over into compassion. So compassion is an action word. And it's much easier to reside in compassion than it is to just stay in empathy. And so compassion being an action word is either wishing the relief of the suffering of another, saying, I'm so sorry that this is so hard. Oh, I wish that you have your needs met. I wish the relief of this difficulty. I wish the gentleness in your grieving. And it's also if we can take action, like say for a more obvious example, like there's a hurricane and we can come in and help people have their basic needs met and help them clean up their house, then that activates oxytocin, which is the connection hormone, and also activates dopamine in our own brain of the giver. And that's the pleasure and reward center in our brain. So that's why it feels so good to give, because it actually activates that part of our brain that says, ooh, this is good, do more of this. And so that leads me to just make a comment about reciprocity. And so when we allow ourselves to receive somebody else's generosity or compassion, we are allowing them to be in their strengths and allowing them to give compassionate action to us, and it is beneficial for them. So that's the beauty of giving and receiving, this reciprocity, and that sometimes we need to be the recipient of compassion from another, and sometimes we need to be the giver. And when we can reside in that cycle, we can take better care of one another. And so I just want to share with you some of the teachers that I've studied with who have been so helpful to me. So this is Thubten Jinpa. He's a Buddhist teacher. He's the translator for the Dalai Lama, and I just took a live course with him. And I got a lot out of this book. And just really, he tells a great story about how when they were doing research on compassion, that the person who was in the functional MRI was told to just stay in empathy, and they were feeling stressed. And when they moved into compassion, it was a relief. And so here's another great book. I'm really, really enjoying Kristen Neff and Christopher Gerber. Sorry to hold this the right way. Mindful self-compassion. So self-compassion to be us to be the first recipient of compassion. And Tara Brach, Radical Compassion. I've gotten a lot out of this book, and it's just really good, tangible steps. People often like to have steps to remember, and she's very good at that. And then this is also one of my other beloved teachers, James Gordon, The Transformation. And so this is really about transforming our trauma in our body so that we can get more home in ourselves, like I was speaking of in the beginning. And that embodiment allows us to really know our yes and our no, so that we can care for ourselves to better show up for our divine assignment. And one of the things I want to share about, I am an intuitive and do readings for people and also do distant healings. And I get to abide with, be with people in their difficulty, in their suffering, and help them in their transition. It's incredible work. And I get to practice being in compassion. I think I've done like maybe 14,000 sessions. So 14,000 times I have gotten to sit with people and say, I'm sorry you were abused. I'm sorry you didn't get your needs met as a child. I see the difficulty that you're walking through right now after you lost your partner or your child. And I get to be changed by being in compassion with another 14,000 times. So just think how much that's changed me, the giver, of being able to abide with others in their difficulty and in their transformation. And that's the true beauty. So I'll just close with kind of doing one of my divine assignments, which is offering singing medicine to people. And so if you're able, just really let this sink into your heart and nourish you, feed you in the places that you are hungry, that you're tired, and that you need to just have some loving kindness. Me And may you be able to be gentle with yourself, shift any self-criticism over to self-compassion, because it's a stronger place to support your ability to be in compassion for others, to take care of yourself, and to show up for your divine assignment. Thank you.